Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Universary. Today's small claims case is in Thurston County, Washington, before Judge Pro Tem Carl Treble. We have Desiree Stinson versus Cara Stinson. These are sisters, and they had a somewhat messy, somewhat planned out rental slash renovation situation happening where Cara took out a mortgage on her home sufficient to start building a barn that was going to be her sister's home, and her sister was going to pay out of pocket for the remaining portion of the renovation slash build. And it was fairly well thought out until they had a snag that wasn't accounted for, and suddenly everything's a mess. So I hope you enjoy. Let me know in the comments.
So I've got Desiree here, Miss Stinson, and I've got Kara Stinson here. You can both hear me okay on Zoom?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to keep this on to a very strict time schedule. And I understand you're both ready for trial.
Yes.
And I've read through the materials, so you should know that going in that I'm familiar somewhat with the allegations and with the evidence, and I've got the case file in front of me. So what we're going to do is give you each about a maximum of 15 minutes each to present your case. We'll go one at a time. And do either of you have any witnesses to call?
I do.
All right, how many witnesses do you have to call, Kara? And I'm just going to use first names for simplicity.
That's fine, Your Honor. Dan Saber is my witness.
Okay.
I do have other witness statements that were submitted, but
yes, I've seen those.
Yeah, I did not ask for them to come.
Okay, I understand, but you've got one witness.
Mm-hmm.
And Desiree, do you have any witnesses?
No, but I'm curious. I wasn't able to find the defendant's records or any submissions. They didn't appear. Should I not have been able to see them?
You were unable to see what? The defense
anything
exhibit?
If she submitted them into the court,
Yes,
I've not been able to see them.
They're electronically submitted on the what's it called, the electronic docket.
Yeah, I went into the case file and couldn't find anything, but that's okay.
Okay, but you're ready to proceed today?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Just to clarify, Kara, you're ready for trial today as well, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And does either side have any objection to my hearing this matter as a pro tem judge?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So, yep, I'm just going to start a clock running, and I may interrupt with questions, but Desiree, you can proceed with your testimony, your description of the case, and why you're seeking judgment here today. And I'll give you about 15 minutes maximum. If you're shorter than that, I do appreciate it, because we have a lot of cases on the call today.
Well, I'll try and be shorter than that. I'm going to assume you've read my summary of events leading to illegal eviction, so I don't have to repeat all of that.
Yes, you can present however much or little you want to, but I have read the materials and I'm familiar with the law.
Okay. So basically it comes down to it was a verbal agreement we entered into, all of goodwill. Unfortunately, nothing in writing, just a lot of evidence of snippets of conversations and text messages and whatnot to support any evidence. I've recently submitted more receipts because I understand that the burden of proof is on me to prove the monies I spent. What I'm basically claiming is that that this was an agreement that we entered into, that my sister took out a mortgage of $40,000. I managed the project, and then anything exceeding that, which was estimated about $90,000 to complete this project, this barn, which is to be my home, that I would pay, that would come out of my pocket, and then I would start reimbursing her for the loan, which I think the loan, it increased her mortgage by about $250 in total. But we agreed to an amount of $1,000 rent moving forward once the barn renovations were completed. Unfortunately, this all took place during COVID, so we had several interruptions during this process, as well as trouble securing materials. So it dragged out much longer than either of us wanted it to. So basically what happened though is my sister's claiming that I have not paid any rent or paid her any money. And my argument is that because it's in writing and snippets to her CPA included, that the rent, any monies I gave her was in lieu of rent, monies I gave her as in investment into the barn. So I do have one correction in my finances because I discovered a check that she had, or a payment that she had made. I couldn't find the check. A lot of my documentation was missing because of the way all my personal belongings were packed during an illegal eviction. But essentially, there was if I was in her house for 22 months, which would come to $13,200 in rent, 26 months at $1,000 in rent, which would be 26,000. And if I was to pay storage, which we'd never agreed to, it would have been a total of $3,300. The total monies that I theoretically would have owed her would have been $42,500. My actual spend with drywall, all the between cash and costs incurred was a total of $54,725, leaving a difference of $12,225. Because I had to move not once but twice, I had moving costs of $4,323, bringing the whole to a new total of $16,548 that I would have been spent in total. I found a correction of $6,000, meaning the final that I had overspent, assuming this was in lieu of all money spent were in lieu of rent, I overspent a total of $10,548. So what I'm saying is that I've overspent. I'm trying to get my sister to understand that I did put the monies in. It was in good faith. And that while she did present a rental agreement midway through this process, I simply asked, great, I'm fine paying the rent. I will sign the rental agreement. What I would also like is an addendum to account for the monies already invested. She refused to do that. That's basically where the problem came from. And then we got nowhere.
I'm sorry to interrupt you real quick, but you're seeking $10,000 in damages, and you say it's for moving costs and damage to property due to illegal eviction. What's your theory on why the court should award you moving costs?
Because I was forced to move out, and I would have had she waited 2 months, I would have been able to move out in a more efficient manner.
Okay, and as far as damage to property goes, how much of the $10,000 that you're seeking is because of damage to property, and how much of it's due to moving costs?
Approximately there's approximately about 3,000 in damages of things that were packed. I wanted to pack everything myself. She had packed everything up and put it outside with her friend. And there's things I couldn't find. There's a lot of missing things as well as items that were broken. So it's just a speculative number. It's not a hard number. So the moving costs are itemized, however. So basically it comes down to, is this an illegal eviction or a legal eviction? And what am I owed?
And what's your theory of why you were forced to move out and immediately rather than waiting a few months? Can you describe that a little bit more to me?
Well, according to the text message from her friend Dan, it was because they wanted to put a renter in right away and they were no longer willing to wait. I was worried. I'm now a dual citizen, but I was a US resident, a Canadian citizen, US resident. I could not move legally to Canada and bring all my things until my citizenship had been finalized. So, I don't control the timeline on that, but I kept telling my sister, it's supposed to be next month, but it wasn't going to be that much longer. Anyway, it was delayed, but not by me, but by the process. And she just grew impatient and said, that's it, you're done. I want you out. And she had her friend text me and tell me that if I didn't get my things out within a week, I think he gave me a week or 2 weeks notice, that they were going to take it to the dump. So I was forced to come and get my things and put them into storage until I could finalize my naturalization. And then I had to come back and so I had to pay for storage, come back and get my things again.
All right, I understand. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
Relative to what the law may be? No, I mean, there's obviously a lot of personal issues that have taken place, a lot of damage to the family, things like that, but that's outside of what
Okay. But
relative
as
this.
to the claim that you're seeking here, did you have anything further to add? Any other evidence you wanted to highlight? Anything you wanted to testify about?
Just that she acknowledged to her CPA in writing that I was doing this in lieu of rent.
Okay, great. Thank you, Desiree. And again, I apologize for using first names. It's
That's
just
fine.
for clarity when family is suing family, it's
That's
easier.
fine.
So Kara, I can hear from you when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have submitted my documents. I believe you've gone over them. You got my letter, I would suspect. So you got to read that. So I don't think
Yes, I've read the materials in the electronic case file.
Okay. So I think the body of my letter pretty much spells it out as to what I would say. So I'd like to make it short and just sort of respond to what I've just heard now, if that's appropriate. Court.
That's your preference on how you want to proceed. You can do that if you'd like. That's fine.
Okay. So just a few things. This was not an illegal eviction. As you saw in the documents, Desiree announced to me that she was taking a job in Victoria and moving to Victoria. She said that I will continue to pay you $650 a month, and in 2 to 3 months, I will be moving and get my things. This is in July 2022. So there we are as far as she's broken the agreement, right? She no longer even sent the 2 months of the $650. She just stopped paying. There was no lease. I tried to give her a lease. She demanded a strict lease. So I gave her a general lease, $1,000 a month, which we had agreed upon in 2019, which she never ever paid $1,000 a month until the time I had the heart attack. I came out of the hospital, and my financial advisor wanted to talk to her and told her, you need to fulfill your agreement. You made an agreement with him, my CPA, or my financial advisor, actually, not a CPA. He's my financial advisor, and he was also involved in the agreement of me refinancing my home, taking the money out to build this barn. And Desiree agreed that she would pay $1,000 a month, but she didn't. She lost 3 jobs while here, and on the 3rd loss of her job, she announced to my mother and I, when we had returned from Hawaii, that she accepted a job in Victoria. So she left. Now, I would think that she broke the agreement because she left. She didn't give me notice, nothing. So here I sit with a much larger mortgage. Here I am. I'm holding the bag. I've got a barn that she had insisted that she was going to finish. And to this day, there still is no kitchen, so it can't be rented. She's asked me just now in mediation, she says, well, have you rented it? Well, I need a kitchen. It's not done. It's still not done. So she lived here all that time, yet never finished it. We're talking about trim, railing, safety things that are standards in a living space. So those things have not been done. To this day, they're not done because I don't have the money to do it, because she's put me in this position. You see, she left. And so I had an agreement where there's an attached check where she says that she will pay the remainder, $650 a month. That was not my agreement. That's the agreement that she made with my financial advisor. It was supposed to be $1,000, and she told him I can't pay $1,000. So in any rate, there is and was never a lease. Her things, she kept, it went back and forth, Your Honor, about her leaving. You saw the email, she said 2 to 3 months. Then it changed, then it changed. Then she even showed up here where she said that she was moving. She showed up here from Canada, and she went into the house for 10 minutes and left, came back about 4 or 5 hours later with a man, an elderly man, and they were in the house for 10, 15 minutes because she was going to have him pack her things, and they disappeared, never came back. So this went on and on and on. Meanwhile, if you walked into the home, it was all her personal belongings, all her furniture, even the food rotting in the refrigerator, and I had to clean everything up. Finally, when she just kept pressing and pressing and pressing and changing things, causing me extreme anxiety and making no sense, contacting my friends. So she was doing that. She was reaching out to my friends that don't know her. And Dan finally told her, this is enough. You said that you were getting your things, and he made the arrangements with her. I never told her to get out.
Miss Stinson, let me cut you off there real quick.
Yeah.
You
Sorry,
mentioned Dan, and you had said that you had a witness here. This would probably be a good time for you to present that witness if you'd like to.
Yes, sir. This is Dan Faber.
Thanks.
Dan, sit in my chair.
Hey, Mr. Faber, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
You could just raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you'll give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. So, Mr. Faber, if you wanted to talk just a little bit about how you became involved in the actual eviction process.
Well, I have been a friend of Kara's for several years. We used to work together, and from that time on, we've been good friends. And I've spent a lot of time here with Kara during the time when her sister was here as well. So I'm very knowledgeable about what has taken place here, and it has not been good. And during this time, the reason Kara had her heart attack was over the stress that her sister has caused her over this living arrangement. And Kara was to the point to where she couldn't make a decision about anything. She was so stressed, her health was at risk. And her other friends and I have talked about this is a serious situation. And after the several times that Desiree said she would be here to get her stuff, she showed up that one time and maybe was here a half an hour total in the whole day and disappeared again. It had already been months. So I told Kara, I said, I want to take care of this situation with Desiree. So I called Desiree. I told Desiree, I said, you left here over the summer. Your stuff has been here for months. You've told Kara that you were going to be here to get it twice. You've showed up once and it's still not gone. And now it's been another couple months. So what we're going to do is we're going to pack your stuff for you. We're going to box it. We're going to put it on the deck and we're going to cover it. Now, before we started this process, Kara said, I'm going to get some bubble wrap. We'll get boxes and we'll get tape. We'll box her fragile stuff up in bubble wrap, which we did. We did a fine job of packing. And when that stuff went in the boxes, there was not one broken item. She showed up with a moving van to get her stuff. We sat here in the house and watched her go through every single box. She unwrapped everything. So if there was anything broken, She broke it herself. When she pulled out of here with her truck, we had a pile of stuff left on the deck that she didn't take. There's also things in the house that she didn't take. Things that she left on the deck were her childhood memories, boxes of them. And so when Kara came to look at them, Kara said, well, we can't get rid of this. She said, I'm going to box this up and save it for her because at some point in time, she's going to want it. And Kara eventually took it to Canada, to her mother's place, and put it in storage so Desiree could pick it up there if she wanted it. So that's what happened. And I told Desiree that stuff would be on the deck so we could finish working on that house and she could come and pick it up whenever she wanted. If she didn't ever come to pick it up, then we would take care of it.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Faber. I appreciate it. Kara, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Just a bit of character. When Desiree came to get her things, and she knew that Dan was packing them, and she made this agreement with him. I was not privy to the conversation. Dan wanted to lock up the barn because everything was out and packed and marked, and each room, kitchen, bedroom, bathroom, all the boxes were marked. Like he said, she came and went through everything and just left all kinds of things all over the deck. She went in, I left the barn open. Dan did not want me to leave it open. He wanted me to lock it. I said no, because she's come this far, they may have to use the bathroom. Well, she went into the barn and she took the remotes to the fireplace. So that was inoperable. That's a $300 cost to me to buy a new remote for the fireplace. She took the fan remote, so you can't operate the fan. And then she took a copper hammered sink. She went in there and took the sink that I paid.
So Kara, just to cut you off real quick, you have not filed a counterclaim in this case, right? You're not seeking reimbursement for those items?
I am not, for one reason, Your Honor, because I cannot handle it. I want no further issues.
No, I understand. I just wanted to make sure I understood the arguments.
Yeah, I am not countering her. I just want to move on.
Okay, and you've got about a minute and a half remaining if you wanted to cover anything else for the court before we conclude your presentation.
Yes, Your Honor. Again, not an illegal eviction. She agreed to come get her things. 2, nothing was broken. I was very careful about all her possessions, as I always am. I took her possessions to Canada for her because I thought she would regret this. I mean, trophies, pictures, baby shoes, things that memories that we cherish. And I thought, my goodness, no, I am not getting rid of this. She left. So I took it to Canada and it's there in my mom's storage. She's aware of it. The police have told her that they will make arrangements with her to go to my mother's house because she's not allowed at my mom's property for other situations. And the items are still, the bins are still there in my mom's storage. And so we need to get Desiree to get her things.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Stinson. Kara. I appreciate it. Desiree, you're the plaintiff, so I'd allow you an extra minute to just conclude with anything that you might have before I issue my ruling.
Okay, just I think where to start. Let's see. The remotes were returned to my sister. They're at my mother's house. The copper sink was, I had paid for it. As I already stated, I paid well over what the rent would have been. I asked in text messages that I be returned some of the railings, some closet hardware and things. That wasn't done. That was not disassembled. When I came to the house a couple of times. The reason there was food in the refrigerator is because I'd been locked out. My sister had changed the locks. So I couldn't get in. I had to get permission from her to re-enter. So that was part of a problem. And then as far as childhood memories and whatnot, I left those things behind knowingly. Some of them were my father's things, my father's cowboy boots, which is very important to my sister. So I left those for her, as well as a lot of furniture for the barn, things that I knew I wasn't going to need. So that was all part of goodwill, the things I left behind. And then as far as the barn, they said themselves, they made very clear in the text messages from Dan, because I asked them not to pack my things, because I needed to go through and selectively pack things that I needed that I could take to Canada and things I'd have to put in storage. But they packed everything so they changed it without telling me. I didn't want them to pack it. I'd hired packers to come with me the second time. The first time I was there that they're referring to, where I was there for 30 minutes, I don't know there was no second person with me. I don't know where that came from. But the reason I couldn't pack anything is they had filled it with everything else that I had from the other house, and that was into storage. So I couldn't access anything. The barn was completely packed with things. So basically that's it. When she talks about financials, her mortgage was increased by about $250, $300 at the time of the loan. And we knew that, and that's why it was okay. She was prepared. We were fine with her making money on my renting. There was no argument to that, but it did not put her in financial jeopardy, as she's suggesting. Again, the whole push to get me out at the time was they had another renter, and that's what they were told. They could have just waited a couple of months and things would have been fine. So there's just some misrepresentation taking place, but I offered to finish the kitchen, and I offered to finish the railing so we could sub-rent it. My sister said she did not want to rent it. So therefore there was no reason for me to finish the kitchen. And I was going to take out credit to do that. But she said she didn't. And that was in an email and text messages that I've submitted to the court as well. So I made the offer to finish it. So it was rentable. I was happy to sub-rent it. We were going to rent it to a travel nurse where she could make money off of it. So I was fine with that. But the idea was I was going to return after my mother died, which who knows when, and move back in. So I was never planned to be gone forever. That's it.
All right. Thank you, Desiree. The court would just comment that there's obviously a lot more going on here behind the scenes that's not relevant to these proceedings, and we're saddened by that. We wish that, families could find a way to get along, but I understand that there's a lot going on. But what this court is looking at specifically is just this small claims lawsuit requesting payment for moving expenses and for reimbursement for damaged property. The court is going to make some findings. The court finds that there was a tenancy at will, is what it's called in the law, in that Desiree was renting the right to live on that property for a period of time. It's not really relevant to the court what the payment arrangements were, but there clearly was an agreement that Desiree would stay there for some period of time. However, I do not see a legal basis for finding that there was an illegal eviction here. And a landlord does have a right to clear out a property. Can't just throw all the property in the grass. But here I find that Mr. Favor's testimony was credible and that the property was carefully packed up. I don't find any evidence at the civil standard, which is more likely than not. So I don't find that it's more likely than not that the property was damaged. I don't find a basis for awarding damages. So at this time, I'm going to rule for the defendant, Kara Stinson, and against the plaintiff. And I'm going to find that there is no basis for a small claims judgment in this case. Okay. And I would thank the parties for their time. And that concludes this matter. There is a right to appeal this court's decision. And you can look up on the website the details for how to get an appeal going if you disagree with it, Desiree. But that matter's final now, and you can both sign off of the Zoom. And I wish you better luck in the future in dealing with each other and better health for everyone. And I hope you have a great day. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.